Okay, we are still in middle of Perek Memches. Last week we learned more outside than inside. Okay, we're on page 255 at the bottom. On the top it's page Samaches. Okay, so at the bottom it's 255, top is Samaches. We're like midway through the page. Okay, the Alter Rebbe is explaining over here at great length the way Hashem loves us so much, to the extent that Hashem lowers himself, conceals himself, oppresses himself, restricts himself to create this world that we should be able to exist in it. And he was leading up to the fact that therefore we can imagine how, if Hashem loves us to such an extent, how much we have to love Hashem. So the Alter Rebbe was explaining before that the infinite level of godliness cannot create a finite world as is, because it's infinite. If infinite is revealed, you have infinite. You can't create finite from infinite. If you divide infinite by 10, by 20, by 1,000,000, it's still infinite. So therefore, in order for this revelation of godliness to be able to come down into the limited world, there has to be this tremendous level of tzimtzum. But nevertheless, the godliness that's infinite remains in a level what's called makif. It's encompassing it. What does it mean? It's makif, encompassing it. It affects it indirectly, not directly. And last week we gave the analogy of this. A ganef is about to break into a home. He davens to Hashem to be successful, which means he believes in Hashem. If not, he wouldn't daven. And yet at the same time, he's doing something he knows Hashem doesn't want him to do. So how is that possible? So Chassidus explains, because the amunah that he has only affects him indirectly. It's not directly. Life comes in the neshama into the body is alive, we learned last week. The whole body is equally alive, but it's not functioning. It's superficially affecting the body that it's alive, but it's not functioning directly. In order for it, so he says like this. Okay, we're going to start in the middle of the page. This level of Hashem himself, like it says, Hashem says, the pasuk says, Hashem says, I permeate the heaven and earth. Afal became nevertheless that infinite level of Hashem, it cannot be revealed, because if infinite becomes revealed in finite, it bursts, it becomes infinite. So what is it? That chayis ma'at mizeir, very, very minimal life that comes even to daimim semeach levad, to the inanimate and the plant, which is the lowest levels in this world, is inanimate and plant. It's called encompassing, even though it's in it. And Alter Rebbe is going to explain what that means. Why is it not called in it? Because it's only mashpia bechinas heste behelim. It's only concealed. This infinite level of Hashem is not permeating it. If it permeated, it would become infinite. What is it? Anytime there's a revelation that's concealed, meaning it affects it only indirectly, nikra makib maila, okay, is only called superficial. Ki alma diskasya, because the hidden worlds, the infinite worlds, are infinitely greater madrega mi alma disgalya from the revealed worlds. In other words, the Alter Rebbe is saying like this. And he's going to add something which is even more difficult. And he says, we can't understand it, but we know the words, we can understand the concept, even though we can't fathom it because our brains are limited. A limited brain cannot fathom and understand and grasp infinite. But the fact is that there's a level of godliness that superficially runs the world. It's not felt directly in the world. If it's felt directly in the world, then the world would be infinite. Okay, to give you another example of this, the Rebbe says in many sikhs, if you are in a community, one of two things have to happen. Either you affect them or they affect you. Something has to happen. If you're in the community, okay, then they affect you, you affect them. That's what the Rambam says. A person should not live in a neighborhood where the people are wicked. You should only live in a neighborhood where people are tzaddikim because they affect you. What happens if you live in a neighborhood, you don't affect them, you don't change them, and they don't change you? You know what that means? That you're not in the neighborhood. You might be living there, but you're not involved. It's superficial. I'm indirectly connected in the neighborhood. I'm not involved directly. That's the level of elokus, like the amunah that's superficial. So he says like this, to bring this a little bit closer to understanding, in a way of a mashal. And he says like this, when a person pictures in his mind, something he saw or something he sees. Okay? You walk in the street and you see a building. That building is now in your head. You're picturing, you say, I'm picturing it. You're looking at it. Either you saw it and you're still picturing it, or you're looking at it now, so you're picturing it. That building is in your head. It's in your brain. Even though the whole building, it's outside and it's inside, and the inside of the inside, the whole building is in your head. You're picturing the building. I'm in this room now. I'm picturing this room. The whole room, I'm picturing it in my brain. Now, does that mean the building's in my brain? No, it doesn't mean the building's in my brain. He says, the thing is, the building is in my brain. And therefore the building, my mind is surrounding it, it's in my brain. It's not, the building is not actually in your head. It's only it's only an illusion. In other words, the building, when I see a building, I'm picturing a building. Okay, they tell you picture something, you're picturing it. That whole building is in your head. Or that object that you're seeing is in your head. It's not in your head. It's the vision of it is in your head. But the building is not in the head. Because the building is not me, and I am not the building, and therefore I am not, the building is not in me. Physically. But by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's different. He says what? It says, my thoughts are not like your thoughts. Next page. His machshava and his knowledge. That knows all creations, like we know the building. Makefes kol nivra v'nivra encompasses the whole creation. V'reishe v'tachtiyah, from head to toe. I'm going to say something. It's again, to understand it in our limited brains is difficult, but the concept is very simple. There is nothing outside of Hashem. Okay? So Hashem, when He created the world in thought and speech, it's not that it's a vision of the world in Hashem's mind, in Hashem's thought. Hashem says, my thoughts are not like your thoughts. For a lot of reasons. But the simple concept is, When I have a vision in my head, in my thought, I'm thinking something, I'm thinking a picture, the picture is not in my head. And that's not a problem. I'm here, the building's there. By Hashem, there's nothing outside of Him. So where is that building that Hashem is seeing now? That's number one. Number two, even more so. Hashem's thought or speech is creating that building's existence. When I think a building in my head, number one, it's only an illusion of the building. The building's not in my head. Secondly, if I drop it out of my head, who cares? I mean, the building's still going to exist. I'm not creating the building. Hashem's thought and speech are creating the world. If Hashem's thought and speech are creating the world, that means the building is in Hashem, Hashem is in the building, because that's the whole existence. There's nothing outside of Hashem. And therefore he says, L'moshel, Kadur ha'aretz halazu. This ball of it's interesting, the Gemara calls it Kadur ha'aretz, the ball of the earth. The Gemara was written 1,000 years before scientists realized that the earth is not flat. Remember years ago, a long time ago, you read in science books, right? Everybody thought the earth was flat until Copernicus, whoever it was, realized that the earth is round. The Gemara already 2,000 years ago called it Kadur ha'aretz, the ball of the earth. But anyway, he says this earth, when I'm picturing earth, okay, I look at a globe, I'm picturing the entire earth, and it's in my brain. I'm picturing in my brain a globe. Okay? By Hashem, this ball of earth you can't say it's outside of Hashem, because there's nothing outside of Hashem. Not only that, the entire existence of that earth, is Hashem. Because this knowledge of Hashem, that's the chayis called Uvei Kader Ha'aretz Kulei. That's what keeps it existing, and that's what is Havusei Me'ayin Liyesh. And that's what keeping in existence from something to nothing, from nothing into something from nothing. So he says, the concept of Seviv Kol Almin, Makif, the way it is by us, is very different than it is by the way it is by Hashem. By us, when I picture a building, I'm picturing the building, every detail of the building in my head, but it's still not in my head. It's not. It's outside my head. By Hashem, there's nothing outside of Him. That means when Hashem is creating the world in thought and speech, Shabbos Hashem creates with thought. During the week, He's creating with speech, whatever that means, that we learned already many times. So Hashem is creating the world, but the world isn't Hashem. There's nothing outside of Hashem. As a Shemayim v'Asaretz Ani Molei, Hashem is there in reality. How could it be infinite, infinite? We don't understand how that's possible. But that is the fact. That is the fact. We can't understand it. To give you another concept that the Rebbe speaks in the Maimer Vato Tetzav, in different concept of it, a different part of it. When somebody asks you a question, or go into the street and ask a religious Jew who doesn't learn Chassidus, ask him, is God physical or spiritual? They will definitely tell you God is spiritual. It's not physical, so therefore He must be spiritual. You ask another person, is God infinite or finite? They will tell you, of course God's infinite. God's not finite. From their perspective, maybe they're right, but they're wrong. It's 100% wrong. If you say Hashem is infinite, we've learned this in the past, but it's relevant here. If somebody says Hashem is infinite, there's two problems with that. Number one, you are limiting him that he's not finite. If he's infinite, he's not finite. Light is light, dark is dark. Miracle is miracle, nature is nature. Finite is finite, and infinite is infinite. If you're light, you're not dark. If you're dark, you're not light. If you're infinite, you're not finite. And if you're finite, you're not infinite. So if you're saying that Hashem is infinite, number one, you are limiting him that he's only infinite and not finite. Second point, if Hashem is limited, that he's infinite, how can he create a finite world? If he's infinite, how do you create a limited world? Therefore, we must say, whether we understand it or not, it's totally irrelevant. We don't even know what infinite means. We have no comprehension of infinite. A human finite mind cannot understand infinite. It's impossible. But we must say, and this is the reality of the situation, Hashem is not finite, and he's not unlimited. He's not limited, he's not unlimited. He's not finite, he's not infinite. What is he? He's above both. He is above even the limitation of being infinite. Because again, if you say Hashem is infinite, and the same thing, is Hashem spiritual or physical? So a normal Jew that doesn't know Chassidus will tell you, well, definitely spiritual. He's not physical. But the reality is, again, the same thing. If Hashem is spiritual, you're limiting him that he's not physical. And if he's only spiritual, how in the world can he create physical? Therefore, we must say, he's not spiritual, he's not physical. He's above both. And if he's above both, infinite and finite are exactly the same by him. Therefore, he can make infinite, he can make finite, he can put both together. It's not a problem. He can make both things together because he's above both of them. Hashem is above world, but simultaneously he is in the world, because you can't say world is outside of him, that there's a thing that exists that's not Hashem. It just can't be. And he says, now the Rebbe is continuing, by Hashem, Sheyediyazu, because this knowing of the world is chayes kol uvei kader ha'aretz, that's the chayes of the whole earth, v'savusa meyayin liyesh, and created something from nothing. So the infinite is also in the world. But now the problem is, if it's infinite, how could he create a finite world? If the infinite is revealed, how can he create the finite world? So he says, if it would be infinite revealed, but you're right. The Alter Rebbe says, if infinite would be revealed, then you couldn't have a finite world, limited world, and a very limited amount of life from Hashem in a way of daimer mitzamech, plant and animal, inanimate and plant. So how is it? It's also only through a tremendous amount of tzimtzumim that Hashem, and again, only because he is above both, Hashem could limit the infinite to reveal finite. That this level of light from Hashem, the revelation of Hashem, that gives light and chayim, shenislabish bekader ha'aretz, that comes into the world, la'achayusei ulakaimei b'chinas gvul v'tachlis, that it should be limited, b'chinas daimer v'tzemerech levad, even in the lowest levels of inanimate and plant, But this is all part of Hashem. The Alter Rebbe is going to say something he said in Perek Beis. He quoted the Rambam. It says as follows: when a person learns something, okay, if I learn Tanya, there's me, there's the Tanya, and there's the knowing. In other words, there's Yodeya, Yodua, and Mada. Meaning, when a person studies something, there is the knower, the person, there is the thing that he's knowing, and there's the act of the knowing. If I study something, there's me, the studying, and the thing I'm studying. The Rambam says that Hura Yedeya, Hura Yodua, Amad, it's all one thing. Because by Hashem, there's nothing that's outside of Him to say. There's Him and there's what He knows. The knowledge is Him. He is the knower, He is the knowing, and He is the knowledge. It's all Him. But as far as we are concerned, the world is limited. In other words, to give you a very simple example of this, you have a very bright light on the table. Very bright. Okay? It's an abundance of light. Cover it with a cloth. You're going to dim the light a little bit. Cover it with another cloth, more. Cover it with 10 cloths, 10 blankets, whatever. It'll get to a point, you'll cover it so much, you won't see any light. As far as you're concerned, there is no light. Now, that's only as far as I'm concerned. As far as the light itself is concerned, there's no difference if there's coverless, one cover, 10 covers, 100 covers. The light doesn't change by the amount of blankets covering the light. The light is the same light. The light doesn't get dimmed. The light is the light. For whom is it a change? For the people looking at the light. The influence of the light on people or on objects. So then if it's one cover, it's a little less, two covers more, less, until you get to a point that's completely dark. That doesn't mean, though, that the light is darkened. The light is what it is. That's number one. Number two, and even more primary than that, more basic, can Hashem cover Himself with something that's not Him? You can't. We said last week, there's a halacha. If you need to have a yarmulke on your head to make a bracha, whatever, you cannot put your own hand on your head. Because you can't cover yourself with yourself. Somebody else puts their hand on my head, it's fine. If I go like this, you can't see me, it's above myself. My hands is also me. I can say you can't see my eyes, but you can't say you can't see me, because my hands are also me. Because everything is Hashem, and there isn't anything that's not Hashem. So when I hide behind a curtain, I'm hidden not from myself. I'm hidden from you by something which is not me. Therefore, that can hide me because it's not me. And therefore, I am hidden by the curtain. But if by Hashem there's nothing else outside of Hashem, the concealment is also Hashem. Hashem hu alikim. Hashem the infinite in this the nature, the concealment of godliness, nature, is the same thing. So the bottom line of it is, not only is as far as Hashem is concerned, there's no concealment, Hashem is concealing Himself with Himself. So as far as He is concerned, the infinite, the finite, it's all the same thing. The world is not limited. It's as far as we are concerned, the world is limited. From the level of Elokim, by the way, from the level of Elokim that conceals Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, which is the concealment, that level of godliness, there is a world. Because Elokim is the concealment. As far as Yud-Ke Vav-Ke, as far as Hashem is concerned, is there a world? No, there's no world. Because Hashem is all over. Therefore, the creation of the world is Bereshis bara Elokim. Vayomer Elokim. Vayomer Elokim. What is Elokim? Elokim is that power of Hashem. We say Hashem or Elokim, it's really the same thing. But just like Hashem has an infinite power, Hashem has the power of being finite also. In Kabbalah Sefer, it's Kabbalah Sefer, Chassidus brings down. In Avedis HaKodesh, Kshem sheyesh le koyach bilti bal gvul, kach yesh le koyach b'gvul. Just like Hashem has an infinite power, Hashem has a finite power. He can limit. And by Hashem, they're equally the same. Why is Alter Rebbe bringing all this to show that with all this concealment, you know what's really in it? The essence of Hashem. Now, our job, by the way, it's getting late, but our job is to uncover the coverings. Hashem covered himself with himself that we don't see him. Because if we would see him, there would be an infinite world. If it would be an infinite world, there wouldn't be Dira B'Tachtainim, it wouldn't be a dwelling place in the low physical world that a Jew makes this physical world holy. If it would be a revelation of infinite, godliness would be all over the place. Yeah, it would be fantastic. But the bottom line is, that's not what Hashem wanted. So Hashem created, hid himself, by himself, with himself, in himself, created a limited world. So, okay guys, your job? Reveal me. Reveal me. Reveal godliness. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvah, we reveal godliness. What do we have to do? You do mitzvahs, you reveal godliness in the world. So you're taking off a cover. If you sin, God forbid, a negative commandment, you're adding another cover. If you don't keep adding covers, it's going to eventually get weaker. So that's the whole aved of a Jew. Torah mitzvahs is to uncover the godliness that God is covering himself with himself in a way that, as far as we're concerned, we don't see it, and he wants us to do mitzvahs to be able to see it. Okay, we're going to leave it here. Don't forget, Shabbos is Shabbos before Gimel Tammuz. Mitzvah Shem will have the next class Monday night, Parsha, in person and on Zoom. Till then, everybody have a good Shabbos. We should only hear good news. Everything should be fantastic. We should see the Rebbe back in the physical body. Take care. Bye.